Let me guess. It's the end of the month. You look at your bank account and you have no idea where your money went. You don't need a fancy finance app. You don't need a complicated spreadsheet. What you need is a simple budget tracker that takes you 5 minutes a week to update. And today, we're building one in Notion. I'm going to walk you through everything step by step. No experience needed, no finance background required. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete budget tracker with transactions, categories, saving goals, and a monthly summary. And I'm giving away the full template for free. Link in the description. Quick confession. I'm not a numbers person. I avoided budgeting for years because every app I tried felt like homework. This system works because it's dumb simple. If I can stick with it, you can too. Let's build it. First things first, let's create a new page in Notion. I'm calling it Budget Tracker, and I'll slap a money icon on it, because why not? Then, below the title, I write a quick description. Track every dollar, no spreadsheets needed. That's the promise of this whole thing. I also like to add a call out at the top with a reminder. Update this weekly. 5 minutes on Sunday, and you're done for the week. This is important because the moment you think I'll update this later becomes never. Setting a specific day makes it a habit instead of a chore. Now, the core of this system, the transactions database, I'm going to add a heading called transactions, and right below it, I'll create an inline table. Let me type /search for table, and there it is. This table is where every single money movement will live. Every dollar in, every dollar out, every dollar saved. Right now it's empty, so let me start adding some entries. I'll type my first transaction, monthly salary, $3,000, then rent, $900. And let me add a couple more. Groceries for the week, $85, and my electricity bill, $75. I'm just typing each one as a new row. Nothing complicated, just the name and the amount for now. We'll add the categories and other properties in a second, but I wanted you to see how fast it is to just log transactions. Type the name, type the number, done. If it's not this easy, you won't do it. That's the rule I follow for everything in the system. First property I add is amount. I set the type to number and change the format to dollar. Now when I type a number, Notion automatically formats it with a dollar sign. Small detail, but it makes everything look cleaner. Next, the most important property, type. This tells me if money is coming in, going out, or being set aside. I'm going to click on the plus icon to add a new column, and I'll call it type. Now I need to change this to a select field. There we go, and I'll create 3 options. First one, income. I'm going to make this green because green means money coming in. That's always a good thing. Second option, expense. This one gets red because, well, money leaving is never fun. And the third option, saving. I'll make this blue. Blue feels like a calm, intentional choice, which is exactly what saving should be. Now let me go through each transaction and tag them. Salary is obviously income. Rent is an expense. Groceries, expense. Electricity, expense. See how the colors instantly tell you the story? Lots of red, a bit of green. That's what most months look like if we're being honest. Now I'm adding category. This is where you'll really start to see where your money goes. Let me click the plus to add a new column. I'll name it category and set the type to select. Now I need to create the categories one by one. First salary in yellow, then food, also in yellow to keep it simple. Transport gets green, entertainment in orange, bills in red because bills always hurt, and health in blue. 6 categories that cover most of what you spend money on. You can always add more later if you need to, or remove the ones you never use. Now let me go through each transaction and assign the right category. Salary goes under salary, obviously. Rent is bills, groceries is food, and I'll keep going through the rest of the list. See how the color tags make the table come alive? Before it was just names and numbers. Now I can instantly scan and see where my money is actually going. That's the whole point of categories. 2 more properties, date, which is obvious, and paid. The paid checkbox is for transactions that are scheduled but haven't gone through yet, like a freelance invoice waiting to be paid or a bill that's due next week. This way I can see what's actually in my account versus what's expected. All right, let me fill this up with a month's worth of transactions so we can see it in action. Salary, rent, groceries, bills, a few coffees I probably shouldn't have bought, real life. Now we've got a database that actually tells a story. Here's where Notion gets magical. Same data, different perspective. I had a board view grouped by type. Now I can instantly see all my income on one side, all my expenses in the middle, and my savings on the other. At a glance, I can feel whether this month is green or red. I also want to view group by category. Let me click the plus to add a new view, choose board, and this time group it by category instead of type. Let me select category from the dropdown. And there it is. Now all my food expenses are in one column, bills in another, transport in another. This is the view that usually surprises people. You think you know where your money goes, but then you see 7 entries under food and only 1 under health, and you realize maybe you're eating out a little too much. Now let me also add a calendar view. I'll click the plus again, choose calendar, and set it to use the date property. Now every transaction is plotted on the month. I can see the heavy spending days at a glance. For me, it's usually the first of the month when rent and bills hit, and then the weekends. You start noticing patterns you never saw before when your money is laid out on a calendar like this. Quick pause. If this is helping you, hit subscribe. I post Notion tutorials every week, and it genuinely helps the channel grow. All right, back to building. Next up, saving goals. Now we add something most budget trackers forget: saving goals. Because tracking where your money goes is half the battle. The other half is knowing where you want your money to go in the future. So I create a separate database right below called goals. Each goal needs 5 properties. Let me add them one by one. First, target. This is the total amount I want to save. I'll click the plus to add a new column, name it target, and set the type to number. Then I'll change the format to dollar so it looks clean. There we go. Second property, saved. This is how much I've actually set aside so far. Same thing, click plus, name it saved, type number, format dollar. Having both target and saved next to each other is the whole point. You can instantly see the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Third, deadline. When do I want to hit this goal? I'll add a new column, name it deadline, and set the type to date. This keeps me honest. Without a deadline, a saving goal is just a wish. Fourth, priority. Some goals are more urgent than others. I'll add this as a select field with 3 options: high with a red dot, medium with yellow, and low with green. Let me create each one and pick the colors. High, red, medium, yellow, low, green, simple traffic light system, and the last property, status. This tells me if I'm actively working on a goal, if I've reached it, or if I've paused it for now. Another select field, in progress, reached, and paused. Let me create those options. In progress, reached, and paused. All right, that's all 5 properties done. Now let me fill in the actual goals. Let me add some real goals here. Emergency fund, the classic. I'm trying to save $3,000, and right now I've got $1,200. Vacation to Japan, because I've been planning that trip for 2 years. A new laptop, which I actually already reached, and a certification course I'm working toward. See this one? New laptop marked as reached. That green status is the best feeling in the world. You hit the goal, you bought the thing, you didn't go into debt for it. That's winning at money in a quiet way that nobody talks about on social media. The reason I put goals right next to the transactions is that they live in the same system. When I log my weekly grocery run, I can immediately see how close I am to my emergency fund. It creates context. Every expense becomes a conscious choice instead of a mindless swipe. Last piece of the puzzle, a monthly summary at the top of the page, or actually, I prefer to put it at the bottom because I like seeing the whole story first before I see the verdict. 4 numbers that tell the whole story: total income, total expenses, total savings, and net balance. I calculate these manually once a week. When I do my review, it takes about 30 seconds. Yes, you could do this with formulas automatically, but honestly, typing the numbers myself makes me pay attention to them. It's a feature, not a bug. And at the very bottom, a pro tip that I give to everyone who asks me about budgeting. Review this page every Sunday evening. It takes 5 minutes. Update any transactions you forgot to log, check your goals, recalculate the summary. That's it. That one habit is the difference between people who actually stick with budgeting and people who give up after 2 weeks. The math of budgeting is not the hard part. The consistency is, and a Sunday evening review with a cup of coffee is about as low effort as it gets. That's the whole system. Transactions to track what's happening now, goals to point you toward what's next, and a summary to connect both. No spreadsheets, no accounting software, no anxiety about money, just a simple page in Notion that you check once a week. If you want to skip the building part, I've got this exact template ready for you, completely free. Link in the description. Just duplicate it to your workspace, fill in your own numbers, and you're done. If you're new here, I've got other Notion tutorials on this channel, a beginner guide, a habit tracker, and 5 templates you'll actually use. I'll link them right here. Drop a comment and tell me what your biggest money challenge is. I read every one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.